Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Technical Tim here, and I want to thank everyone so much who's been liking all my videos and subscribing to the channel, and I'd really appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up or subscribe if you haven't already. And I'm here just to recap the previous card, the Brazil card, Jan and Jacare. And if you don't know how I usually do this, I just go through each fight and talk about it from a technical and betting perspective and mention kind of what I was thinking before and after each fight. Overall, the only tracked play I had was on Shogun, and it was a draw, so it was a push. And I did have him to close out a parlay, so because he got a draw, the rest of the parlay paid out. So technically, I won a little bit, but not nothing crazy or anything, just because it ended up being a draw. And I'll go through each fight. Before I do that, I want to let you know, once I get to 1,000 subscribers, which we're still a little bit of ways, but I think I'm approaching the 500 mark. And I'm going to be shooting a lot more videos now that we have a few weeks off, and I'll have a lot more content, so hopefully I get some more subscribers. But once we get there, hopefully it's in a couple months, I'm going to start doing live streams once a week where you guys can just ask any questions that you want. And I can really just talk about kind of whatever I feel like talking about or whatever you guys want to talk about. Maybe I'll do them for 1 hour, a live stream a week. Yeah, I just wanted to wait for my subscriber total to go up a little bit just so there's actually people participating in the live chats. And if there's not that many people in the live chats at the time when I'm doing them, I'll just kind of talk about whatever I feel like talking about. So yeah, let me pull up the card. Sorry, I should have had this up. But overall, that card was there were some weird fights, man. There's some really, really weird fights. And I'll kind of go through each one and tell you why I thought some of them were weird. But it was kind of a couple exciting fights, but a lot of them were honestly kind of boring. So it wasn't that exciting of a card. First fight of the night, Cortez and Mella. I figured Cortez would kind of get some of her grappling going, which she really did. Don't have too much to say. I think Cortez is just is she bantamweight? Yeah. I still think her game is just she's a little green, and she doesn't have the greatest wrestling or even striking, and I feel like she'll hang around at bantamweight, but I don't think she's going to be a title contender or anything. But yeah, I figured Cortez would probably out-grapple her. Lipski and Isabella, I hadn't done tape on this whenever I shot my final thoughts video. I ended up looking at it. I figured Lipski would probably win, but Lipski's a little too raw and wild and unpredictable to place a bet on at -300. But it was actually a pretty exciting fight. When Lipski actually lets her hands go, you can tell she has some pop, but she Isabella would kind of just get some takedowns and kind of weather that striking storm. But Lipski has naturally really fast and powerful hands. She just doesn't have all the other skills yet. So I do think, just because I feel like she's pretty athletic and strong and powerful, that she could turn into a decent fighter. It's just her skills are kind of too raw. She needs to kind of learn to harness them a little bit. But she couldn't pass Isabella's guard all that easily, too. Isabella was doing a lot of things. She was doing some rubber guard, even, Isabella, so she obviously had some grappling skills. She made it interesting at times, but yeah, that's really all I got. De Andrade and Barao, this fight, yeah, I thought Barao would compete for a little bit and then just kind of slow down and gas out, and that ended up happening. I didn't like some of those stand-ups. I felt like Barao earned those positions, and I'm just against stand-ups overall, so I generally don't like them. I know they're part of the sport, so I try to judge them based on how they're usually implemented by the referees historically, but I do not like stand-ups just because I feel like maybe it's my grappler's bias, but it's just stupid. They earn that position, the top person, and even though there might be uneventfulness going on, you can stall in other ways of a fight too. You can stall on the feet, and they wouldn't say, okay, let's go to the ground now because somebody's running away. I know they could caution you for timidity, but that rarely happens. But why why on the ground are you just deciding to take a position away that was earned? Like, there's other areas of the fight you can stall as well. So I do not like stand-ups because the bottom man is still losing a skill fight. Like, if they're being stalled out, that means they can't be, they're not working their way to defeat, which means they're losing an actual skill element of the fight. So why just take away that skill? Like, the top man staying heavy on top, staying chest to chest, and holding top position is something they're doing correctly, and the bottom man's not correctly fighting for underhooks or doing something to escape. So I feel like that's always really weird. Sorry, that's the first time I've really ranted about that, but that's why I don't like it, because it's taking away a skill element of the fight. But historically, it's part of the sport. They stand people up, and I think it's fine that they stood up in this situation based on historical methods, but in my world, I would never stand anyone up. I feel like let the fight play out naturally, and I do not think there should be much referee intervention in a fight unless if it has to do with protection, like stopping a fight. If somebody eye gouges someone, they're there, if there's a low blow, I think like for protection, that's fine. But to like create more action, I feel like that's taking away the natural element of a fight. But yeah. Randy Brown and Warley Alvez. I had mentioned how I leaned Brown. I didn't play them. The only untracked bet that I did was a live bet, and I did untrack live bet Brown and hit him plus 165 after round one. Very small, but nothing big. But the way I saw that this fight was super strange because they kind of just started grappling, so this was kind of a weird fight, and that's kind of my theme of this card, that it was a super weird card. But Brown, it was weird how they just kind of started getting stuck into grappling spots, and I was expecting a little more striking. But Brown, where he did have success, were in two parts where I thought he would have success. Actually, three. You could tell whenever they were striking for a little bit, Alvez he didn't enjoy the length of Brown, and the range was giving him issues, even though there were very small pockets of striking exchanges in this fight. Brown also got some clinching ability, and he clinched up Alvez at times, and then Alvez just slowed down, and I thought Brown had the cardio edge, so I thought eventually in this fight, I thought Brown would eventually finish Alvez. He just did it by a triangle, which I think that's a very volatile sub. It's hard to predict a triangle. I think rear naked chokes, subs that are kind of coupled with control, are more predictable, or like an arm triangle or something, not really like a guard sub. So it's kind of random. But after that first round, even though Alvez won that first round, I could tell there was a pivot coming. And Randy Brown has good cardio, and Alvez just doesn't. And I could tell that Alvez was kind of slowing down. But Brown did a great job in round one of defending the top hand. And then Alvez tried to turn it into on the rear naked choke. And then Alvez tried to turn it into, I think it was actually, I'd have to rewatch the sequence, but he tried to turn it into like a one-armed rear naked choke, and he actually got pretty close. I thought Brown was going to escape watching it live, but it definitely was pretty close, I feel. Like, there's definitely some element of danger there, but then he kind of scrambled out, and then Alvez kind of slowed down. But Alvez just, after that first round, that was a very energy exerting round, and I just thought Brown was going to kind of take over. Next fight this is Bobby Green and Trinaldo. I had a pre-fight lean on Green. Didn't play it like I mentioned on the Final Thoughts video, but and this is kind of why I didn't play it. Like, the fight played out, like, these striking fights can be a little high variance just based on, a knockdown landing, which Trinaldo kind of did. So it's sometimes hard to predict knockdowns, I feel. And then also just urgency predicting. Like, Bobby Green was just kind of fighting like an idiot. I feel like he could land when he wanted to. And it was funny, Bobby Green outlanded Trinaldo 2-1, but Trinaldo kind of landed bigger shots, and the optics looked better for him. I don't even think Trinaldo had all that much success, but I had a feeling watching the fight that he was going to get the decision, because Bobby Green will just kind of he'll just kind of stand there and like he's just so nonchalant the way he's fighting, and he'll kind of eat a leg kick and not really let his hands go. And I feel like anytime Green threw teep kicks or leg kicks, they were landing, and he just wouldn't go back to the well for them. So it was kind of just a bad fight IQ by Green. I still thought that fight, I was fine with Trinaldo getting this decision, but I would have been fine with, honestly, like any of those rounds were up in the air. I thought Green won the first round, and then I had a feeling Trinaldo was going to get the last two. But all three of the rounds were debatable. It was a super uneventful fight. The first round, I think I leaned Green just because I know Trinaldo got like a knockdown, but I feel like it was almost a balance issue, a little bit of a knockdown, but it wasn't like a big shot. And then Green kind of took the last 4 minutes after that. And then round 2 and 3 were so uneventful that I had no idea what was going on. And I had a feeling Trinaldo was going to get it, though, just because the optics looked better of him kind of coming forward, but he didn't really land anything either, so it was a weird fight. Glad. Overall, I stayed away on both of those. They were both slight dogs. I think I would have profited slightly. I would have profited slightly if I played both of them, just because Brown, an underdog, hit, but it was pretty much a push, so I'm fine with the stayaways there. Ricardo Ramos and Garagori. Yeah, Ramos, he was a better grappler here, and Ramos has legit jiu-jitsu whenever he actually uses it, and he got that. He took the back, and once he flattened Garagori out, it was pretty clear he was going to get the tap. Krause and Moraes, this was a fight. Where did these... So I mentioned I thought Krause should probably win, but I think at the time I made that video, Krause was like -2. I want to see where these odds moved. Yeah, when I shot that video, he was like over -200s, and then he got to -185-ish. And I started getting tempted to play Krause just because Moraes doesn't throw strikes, and Krause is a kind of a blue-collar grappler. He's a tough guy to tap. He can scramble out of situations, which you saw in the first round. He stayed very calm when Moraes was in side control, and he was looking to kind of get an underhook from side control to roll out and scramble out, and eventually it came, and then he dominated. But Moraes just doesn't throw strikes, so I was like, how is he going to win this? And I don't think he can just ground Krause for 2 rounds to win it. But I kind of started getting tempted on Krause, but I didn't play anything. But yeah, it was really just kind of a gas tank issue, I feel. I feel like once Krause scrambled up in round 1, he was just using his jab, his length. The leg kicks seemed to be a big thing, and Moraes ate a lot of leg kicks against Warley Alvez too, and once Krause started finding a target for those, he really just started dominating. So yeah. Wellington Turman and Marcus Perez. I figured this was a pretty competitive fight, that it would kind of come down to who took advantage of some grappling situations, and it felt like Turman was able to kind of just hustle a little more and kind of go for takedowns and force the issue a bit. He kept going for that body lock, and then he would shift to be perpendicular to his opponent and kind of go for body locks from there, and he landed like a few takedowns. I actually had an argument, unintentionally, but I like tweeted out how did Turman not get scored a takedown in round 1? And the guy who actually scores takedowns for Fight Metric, like, somehow saw my tweet, and he kind of like said a sarcastic thing back. Because I had mentioned, like, obviously the Fight Metric scorer has never wrestled before, and then he kind of like sarcastically responded, implying that he did wrestle. And then I just kind of put out the rule as to why that was a takedown in round 1. It was because Perez was on all fours and Turman had a 2-on-1. So that's a takedown. And so we kind of went back and forth. But he wasn't like mean or anything, but we were talking about it. So sorry, there's a little off topic. But yeah, it was just kind of a random fight. And I feel like Turman just kind of out-hustled him. He didn't really like land all that much. Like, he landed some shots here and there, but I feel like the few takedowns, the spot takedowns he landed, and him just kind of controlling the cage battle, ended up winning in the fight. Muniz and Arroyo, this was my other lean that I didn't play. I also thought Muniz was going to sub Arroyo, and he got close twice, but Arroyo's sub defense improved dramatically since 2017. That LFA fight a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, if Arroyo showed up, I don't think he would have survived that rear naked choke attempt by Muniz in round 2, I think it was. He was fighting the top hand super, super well, and just overall he had good hand control, where he didn't do that 2 years ago, so good on him. I still thought like the takedowns and things would land for Muniz, and I thought he would probably out-grapple Arroyo here, so he ended up winning. But at the same time, even though I had a lean here with Muniz, and I didn't play it, but he ended up winning, I do think Arroyo could have totally took that fight in round 2 and 3 whenever he was in. So Muniz was laying on his back, and although Muniz had won the first like few minutes of the round and he was up, if Arroyo would have just landed strikes, I feel like he could have stolen those rounds and taken a decision. So that was really weird. I think he was just a little tired. So I don't know, so maybe his like mind was a little bit discombobulated and he wasn't thinking correctly. And he was a little hesitant of Muniz's guard to really engage with him too much. But at that point, you're down. And I don't know why he didn't just start throwing some bombs. So that was kind of a strange fight. That was a strange fight. The Brown Alvez fight was kind of weird just because they just kind of like fell into weird grappling positions. Trinaldo and Green was weird because Green just like decided to not fight, I feel. I don't know, it was a fucking weird card. Oliveira Gordon, I wish we would have seen that fight play out. Because once they were on the ground, I didn't think Oliveira could easily sub Gordon, and Gordon seemed totally competent and aware down there. And then Oliveira has been improving as a striker, and he just landed a big shot. Gordon doesn't have the best chin. He gets caught in fights, so it was a little predictable that... So I don't think it was like a huge outlier that Oliveira landed a big shot here, but I really don't think Oliveira could have just auto-subbed him, so I wanted to see that fight play out. And I think up until that knockout, it happened quick though, for sure. Like, it all happened very quick. Like, not much of the fight had played out. But I like didn't think Gordon was in over his head, but you know, big shot landed and it happens. And I still think Oliveira wins that fight for the most part, but I still think Gordon's capable of winning, but his chin kind of failed him. Shogun and Paul Craig. I played Shogun, ended up being a draw, so no damage done. I thought I was good after the fight ended. Like, I thought Shogun was going to get the decision 2-1. Like, I thought he had won round 2 and 3 just based on top position. But at the same time, Shogun showed up. Like, when I was looking at this bet, the grappling exchanges, a lot of the fight played out how I thought it would. Meaning, the grappling exchanges, I thought Shogun would stifle them fine. I didn't think Paul Craig could triangle him. Paul Craig's triangled terrible people who just don't know jiu-jitsu. Like, his jiu-jitsu isn't very good. It's fine, but it's not, like, world championship level. And the only really, like, great sub he has, but I still think it was flukish, was the triangle off Ankalaev. All the other triangles were explainable, but I didn't think he could sub Shogun. You could see Shogun was always aware of any time Craig would go for an overhook to try to manipulate Shogun to get the triangle, or anytime Craig got wrist control, Shogun knew. Like, he was minding his P's and Q's down there. And even Craig's striking offense that he landed, I expected Craig to land some shots. Like, and he still didn't land all that many strikes, but Shogun didn't either. And that's where I was surprised on this fight. I thought Shogun, like, I expected Craig to land, and I expected once Shogun got on top, he'd be fine and stifle the subs. I just thought Shogun would be landing a lot on the feet, a lot more, and he just couldn't close the distance. And I, kind of like Glover Teixeira, I never thought Glover was very shot or showed, like, a ton of elements of being shot, and I still think Glover's proven to be fine there. And I kind of thought that same thing with Shogun, and I thought he looked totally fine against Pedro and Vellante. Like, yes, I thought he was slowing down a bit, but I still thought he still had the game to beat Craig quite easily, but this was like a concerning fight. It was just his ability to close distance wasn't there, and he couldn't land. And I think he was hesitant of throwing leg kicks because he was kind of worried about the takedown for Craig. But I don't think he should have given Craig's takedowns much respect. I think he should have kind of charged in and tried to close distance more so he wasn't in kicking range as much. But it was kind of like Shogun just looked old, to be honest. So even though I had thought, so it looks like Craig got a 10-8 round 1, which I disagree with. Like Shogun wasn't all that badly hurt in round 1. He kind of just covered up, and Craig, threw a long combination exchange, and some of them were landing, some of them were hitting the high guard of Shogun. And then round 3, I don't see how Craig won that, but at the same time, Shogun looked super declined, and I'm fine to get out of that fucking fight just with a draw. It ended up just being Shogun was way more declined than I expected. And Craig honestly probably gave the fight away by pulling guard in the first place. Sorry, my camera messed up for a second. But yeah, so that was a weird fight too. So I'm fine just getting away from it and having no damage done. And then Jan and Souza, I honestly expected a fight like this. I thought it was going to be low volume, uneventful, and I thought a finish would come if somebody just landed a big shot. And this was a weird fight. And Jan kind of was a little busier. Jacare would kind of clinch him up. It was pretty boring, and I didn't really care who got the decision. It was kind of an uneventful fight. But that's all I have, and yeah, we have 3 weeks off. The next card is the DC card of Overeem and Rosenstreich, and then we have, hold on, let me look. Then we got the Usman card, and then we have the Korean Zombie card. So only 3 more cards, UFC cards, for the rest of the year. I'm kind of glad to have a break, but I'm going to be getting ahead and trying to research all the way till the February cards just so I can... I like being ahead on the cards just so it's not stressful taping during the week of the actual cards. So yeah, if you have any comments, comment below. If you have any requests of videos for the next 3 weeks, because I have such a long break here, just comment below and I'll definitely consider doing those. So thank you so much, guys. Bye.